Good evening, everyone. For those of you who know me, I'm Ben. For those who don't, just that same sentence again, but with my surname added. Ben Deckys, also known as View Did Appear. Soon to be rebranded, probably again with SwiftUI API updates. I think someone suggested on Appear, run loop. Anyway, I'd like to introduce my talk tonight. Give input and get output. I've roughly translated that from the Japanese original. So if there's any language oddities in the text, please yell at me on Slack. It's been about 2 years since I last joined talk at CocoaHeads, but what's happened? Well, in case you've been living under Patrick Starr's rock, you're not seeing the slide. Okay, that's a deck set bug. Anyway, sorry about that. Let me go to the next slide again. So what's been happening? As I was going to say, started to say there, sorry about that. In case you've been living under Patrick Starr's rock, from SpongeBob SquarePants, world executable stopped responding in early 2020, and it's still got the little spinning wheel there. And we've all had to adjust to like working from home and some pretty radical changes. I'm pretty sure, we're all still processing that. Meanwhile, 2022 is about 4 months away, and I don't want to think about that. The problems here at my current workplace in Japan, it was compounded by the fact that many of our new hires that we had just worked really hard on recruiting and putting through the interview gauntlet, they got stuck in immigration hell. They're still there, actually. They're what we say LWFH, literally working from home. They are not able to enter the country, and they are also not able to leave their own country. Furthermore, a lot of us at the time during the should we get out, should we not stage, quite a few of us did have our sayonara sales here in Japan and left. So we became distributed as a team overnight, basically. It was 2 weeks and we'd all been from the office to suddenly working from about 15 time zones. Teamwork, it caught fire. Let's just putting that nicely. But as of the 1st of August, I did check the stats. Our Android and iOS teams have members working in every single country in Southeast and East Asia, including but not limited to Japan, Taiwan, China, Hong Kong, Philippines, you name it, alongside colleagues in India and some in Europe and a couple of people that have just moved back to the US. So eventually our communication and individual coding preferences became a problem. I'm assuming because the context switch that one would make upon entering the office was no longer a thing, and we sort of, all of us really reverted back to the old ways. And it just got worse and worse as time went by. PRs ended up in limbo, and stylistic decisions were argued about on Slack, which was not a great taste for any new joins. So we had to bridge the cracks. So lest our productivity continue to nosedive and morale along with it, the senior team, we had to put our heads together, all our digital heads together. We had many Zoom meetings, hence the good microphone and the good camera, because I was having a lot of them. We just had to come up with an architecture for the app as well as our code review and our general guidelines that we didn't actually have before. It was like this pandemic just kicked us, sort of put a firecracker down and was like, okay, you're gonna have to adjust to this. The solution we came up with had to assist us in onboarding juniors as well. That just graduated from local universities and international universities, so keep it super simple. KISS was our #1 requirement. And as I said before, it wasn't just coding styles that we had to bridge the cracks with. It was during our one-on-ones, more and more of our junior members were saying that language used during code review or in messages on Slack were being misconstrued. And that became something that we couldn't ignore any longer. So the first thing we did, we started using the I/O method. And I've spoken about this before, and I'm a huge advocate for it. And basically, it reduces the interface for a view model to a push button approach. So it's represented here by the protocol. You have your inputs, which is did tap login button, and the output is like, in the case of reactive Swift, an observable that you will listen to and react to and push up like the login button, the login screen, and go from there. It allows everyone on the team, regardless of programming background, to understand what is the trigger and what is the result for a given action, rather than each individual view model having its own bespoke implementation. We had to make it rigid and easy to adopt. So a concrete example of our inputs, here you'll see I've got a what we call a Gidgey view model, a sample view model here, with myself as an IO observer here, which I've written in reactive Swift, with an input as myself, and I'm reacting to something on that when this view lifecycle event would get called from the view controller. So I hand off each event from the view controller to my view model, and all my data goes through here, 100% of it, and allows us to increase our unit testing as well. You can see the output from here as well. So on view did appear, want to do some foo and send the output update view with the content struct that is just somewhere defined. It made the cracks a lot easier to deal with. We built that bridge with the pattern. We thought about it. We found the original implementation with the Kickstarter, I think, iOS app. But the initial implementation as defined by that GitHub library was a bunch of protocols for each view model. So a protocol for the inputs, a protocol for the outputs, another protocol for the view model type, and it was unwieldy. We thought we needed to simplify that, so that's when we came up with the single one. We increased the testability of our view models, most importantly to 100%, because aside from the coding styles and language issues that I mentioned were starting to come up, we had abysmal test coverage, and people were, like all of us really, were guilty of sort of not doing as many unit tests as we probably should have done. And I'm happy to report that our code coverage has gone from a dismal 12%, which made me physically want to cry, to 62% in, there's a kanji left in there, sorry about that, in about 3 months. So we're on the upward trajectory with that, which is, I'm really happy to report this. My personal little goal for hopefully by the start of 2022 is, almost at 2021 there, this year's gone too quickly, to get to 100%. That's my personal little goal, but I don't want to say that because I don't want to bring everyone down if we don't hit that goal. Through many one-on-one meetings over the past few months, we have found that the pattern that we introduced is easy for juniors to grasp, and the turnaround time for a bog standard pull request is like way down. We went from an average of 5 or 6 open pull requests when we were working in the office. That was like the maximum if we were in a busy week. People were like logging the reviews and doing all of that. It went to an average of like 43, which isn't great. And as I said, the discussions on Slack were starting to get really stressful. And because we introduced this protocol-based approach, it eliminated the personal opinions that each individual engineer had. We sort of made that protocol our de facto impartial third party, and allowed us just to keep moving, because we were like, well, if we've got a problem with this, we can't talk to it because it's not going to talk back, so let's fix it. And we're happy to report that juniors were no longer feeling overwhelmed and were able to contribute successfully. That was the biggest hurdle that we were faced. As I mentioned before, that language was starting to become a thing in one-on-one meetings, and as you can see, it's like, do you sense my tone? Is what I'm asking in the title of the slide here. On Slack, tone is really hard to, and in GitHub as well. So the tone is impossible to read from text without liberal emoji, and if it's like a more serious topic, you tend to, I find it's a really hard line for us to toe. So we've gone from you should delete this to this variable looks unused, we can delete it because we are working on this code together. And that is something we knew, I guess, when we were working in the office, because we were seeing each other in person and having individual meetings. But when we were working from home, that personal, like the in real life contact was obviously gone. So we were just down to interpreting people's typing, which it wasn't going well. So we have got a new policy: use as many emoji as possible, and I'm a little bit embarrassed to report that I myself have added 2,300 emoji to our Slack over the past few months. And a junior engineer recently just uploaded his his entire country's alphabet in blinking Slack emojis. So there's so many different things now. People are way more communicative, and it's not like bog standard laughing face emoji. It's more serious, and it allows it's more on the not serious. I'd say it's more on the practical side. It's really helped us fix the problems. We established the nits queue, nits for N for nits, Q for questions, and S for suggestions on our pull requests and on Slack to disambiguate the tone as well when needed. So obviously upcoming changes to iOS and Android. We also took this architecture after roaring success on the iOS side of the code base, and we implemented it using Kotlin. So they use the exact same thing with Kotlin-based. I guess they still call them protocols. I wasn't fully involved with that, but we're still going to have to tweak the app side architecture as we move through the iOS releases coming up. When 15 comes out, we're dropping 13, I think, and 14. If I remember we're ruthless over here. We just say, update it and use it, people. But we have to make the changes. And as I said, it's an unbiased third party, so the team as a whole remains open to perfecting this and adopting the changes where necessary. There is no one who claims full ownership of this approach, which I think is like the biggest benefit that we've gotten out of all of it, apart from like enabling the juniors to contribute without requiring endless meetings or pair programming. Just because the discussions have been had and the problems confronted, it does not mean they're gone, though we've all accepted this. It's going to happen again, but hopefully these sorts of discussions will happen more organically and not in a I didn't know how to put this in English, reactionarily. I don't know if that's even a word, but yeah, hopefully these discussions just happen and aren't just in a reaction to what was going on. We were like, we needed to do something. We were pushed between a rock and a hard place, and we were being rained on, and we were like, okay, something's going to have to get done. Anyway, in a conclusion, and I think I'm a little bit under time, so I'll apologize for that. Our conclusion is implementing an impartial app architecture and a framework for PR reviews were excellent decisions, and it saved us from losing a lot of good talent and making the working from home or literally working from home situation even worse than it could have been. So so far so good. I'm happy to report. So I'm anxious to see how the rest of 2021 fire emoji goes, because it's a bit crazy right now given the Olympics situation here and the lack of lockdown. But yeah, I will probably report back when I can. There is a demo project. If anyone has anything to say on our approach, the URL is here, and I will post it in the Slack later. If you have anything to say on our approach, if you would improve it or change it in any way, let me know. I want these productive discussions on GitHub. I love Melbourne, obviously. I'm from there, but I haven't been able to return in 2 years. So if I'd love the input from my fellow Melbourne engineers, and to build this architecture out to truly epic proportions, something that we can share across the board. Just an aside, the demo project uses Combine and SwiftUI with 0 third-party dependencies. Pretty proud of that. It took a while for me to teach myself some Combine there, but that's about it from me. Thank you for listening, and everyone stay safe. I'm going to handball back to Sean.